is stealing your content. You're creating all of this content and trying to play the SEO game and building links and doing all the things that you need to do. And then what Google's doing is taking that content and delivering it to people before they even get to your website. And we've known this for years, by the way. We've known this. As a matter of fact, we celebrate it because anytime we've ever gotten a snippet out of Google, like, it's been a really big, powerful thing. But all of a sudden, we're all up in arms about it again, which I think is funny because they've, like, stated that this is what they want to do. There's an article came out 4 days ago at the time of this recording. Zero-click Google searches rose to nearly 65% in 2020. Now, first of all, that is really staggering to me. So think about that. 2/3 of all searches, somebody searched something and then clicked on nothing, which means that Google gave them the answer before they needed to go to a website. And that's worth meditating on, and I'm going to talk about my opinions on that in just a moment. But I want to make a point. First of all, this came from Rand Fishkin. So he published this study. And I trust Rand. I really like Rand. He's the godfather of SEO. I followed him for years when I was in the SEO game. Founded Moz with his mom, by the way. Super cool story if you go dig into it. But anyway, 2/3 of Google searches end without a click. Now, here's what that means. Let me give you, let's search for something. So I searched for how much does a Google Ads agency cost? Wow, egg on my face. Looks like I clicked on Jump Fly at some point. They're my competitor. So people also ask, how much do agencies charge for Google Ads? Bam. Call real. $500 a month to $5,000 a month. Let's say that satiates my curiosity. I didn't click. I didn't go to a website, and now I'm done. So what that means is Google is, and this isn't the only thing, like what's another good one? Let's do, how old is Bernie Sanders? Bernie Sanders is 79 years old, and this information is being drawn from Wikipedia. I can see when he was born, and then there's a little bit of his bio. Now think about for just a moment. We're used to this, which is also why it kind of pisses me off that we made a deal with the devil. You know what I mean? So it pisses me off that people are so up in arms about it, because this is not new, and it's also been a stated goal of Google's. We want to get people to the end result the fastest. But it still sucks. It sucks. Imagine, your Wikipedia and somebody wrote this. Somebody had to go curate this information, fact check it, add proper citations, do all the work, and then put it on their website with the hope that somebody comes to the website. Because if you don't go to the Wikipedia site, you don't see things like their requests for donations that they do every year, which is a worthy cause in my opinion, incidentally. Go support Wikipedia. They're awesome. But now, I don't even have to see that. I can just see all Wikipedia's content right here. And I didn't click through to their site. They can't, cookie me, not that they'd be able to in the future anyway. They can't see user interaction or user data. They can't, if you're using Hotjar or Lucky Orange or True Conversion or any of those things, they can't see what people are doing. They've missed out on the ability to capitalize on the information they've created because Google is curating that. And in the past, you would have had to click through to Wikipedia's site to see any of this. Maybe you'd just seen a little bit of a snippet. But the point is that 2/3 of Google searches are resulting in their zero-click searches. And that's up from 50% in 2019. So that's staggering. Now, there's a really big caveat here, which is that the 2019 number didn't come from the same data provider and used a different model. So I'm looking at that going, well, that's not fair. So the comparison, the 50% to 65%, I don't think is fair. But I trust the 65% number because I trust Rand. That said, Google has a response. I'll link to it in the description just to be, as for whatever journalistic integrity I have, to make sure that you have it. But Google came out and said, no, this is the best part. They go, no, they're measuring wrong. Where do they say that? Flawed methodology that misunderstands how people use search. In reality, Google search sends billions of clicks to websites every day, and we've sent more traffic to the open web every year since Google was first created. With zero data to support that. Now, maybe that's probably true, but if there's the issue with that is there's more searches every year to the tune of like billions of searches every year. The search volume keeps increasing because people are searching more effectively and getting more used to searches, and the number of people online are growing. So if the volume of searches increases by 1 billion and the number of clicks that you're sending to the open web increases by 2, well, you can say exactly what you just said with integrity, but it doesn't mean anything. And the rest of this is just a fluff piece. I mean, they say absolutely nothing, which I just think is funny. So here's what this means. If you think about it from a paid advertiser's perspective, which I do, Google is getting better at identifying intent and delivering the final end result. You searched for something, and 65% of the time, Google gave you the answer before you needed to click. And what that means is, if you had to click through, there's at least a 1% degree of the unknown in Google's algorithm or mind. So if you have to click through to something, then when you land on that site, even though Google can see what you're doing, they can't necessarily see exactly what it is. Let's say you click through on a 3,000 word blog or whatever. They don't know exactly what it is that just satiated your curiosity. If they did, they would have given it to you up front. So this 65% no-click searches means that Google is 65% adept at giving you exactly what you want without any further context. Which is amazing. That's amazing. 65% of the time. What that means is, I think that Google's in-market audiences are going to become much more powerful, and are already powerful and should be paid attention to. One of the other search terms that I tried just in preparation for this video is, how much does a personal injury attorney cost? And what's interesting about that is I got an answer right away. 33 to 40%. And the amount of time, effort, and energy it would have taken for alllaw.com to get there is staggering. It's immense. These folks, I mean, this is tens of thousands of dollars worth of SEO, not for this one search, obviously, but in order to position yourself so that you're ranking on an aggregate level that would allow for this type of long tail search to be something that you end up being the yielding result for. That's content, link building, and time. And look, they paid for that, and they don't get my click, so they don't have the ability to cache me, remarket to me, any of those things. Now, the reason this is a bad example is because Google's not going to let us target personal injury in the same ways. But the point that I'm trying to make is, if you have a competitor that's, really anybody who's doing badass SEO should be running PPC on top of it and using in-market audiences. Because you're genning up all of this interest and not necessarily getting the prospects on your site. And then if you're not doing SEO, you can go poach your competitors' work, basically. Because if somebody else is genning up all this interest and helping Google identify, the more effective the content is, the more effective Google's going to be at identifying in-market intent. And that in-market intent is going to be something that you can bid on. And Google's in-market audiences, I'm getting blown away by just how granular they're getting and how specific and how effective it's been. So, this 65% of searches being no-click searches, that's so telling. It's so telling. Google is just getting that good. And that number, in theory, will only continue to grow. I don't think that heralds the death of SEO. We still invest pretty heavily in SEO, and we rank really well. But I think that it does mean that you need a multifaceted strategy, and you can't just rely on one thing. And obviously I'm the paid ads guy, and I'm here talking you into running paid ads, so clearly I'm partial, even if I am trying to be objective. But it is interesting, and it speaks to the stranglehold that Google has. And the other thing that worries me a little bit about these zero-click searches is, I'll use the All-Law thing as an example. They said 33 to 50%. Well, that just Google just decided that was the ubiquitous truth. And they decided it based off of their own meritocratic system. But it's not as though this is like a peer-reviewed scientific journal. And so what Google just did there is they just set the market rate for personal injury attorneys. And they have the ability to do that with any industry for any reason. They just get to choose now what is true. And you might say, well, that's always been the case. And I don't think that it has been. I think historically Google was it was at least viewed as more of a directory, where you'd say, how much is a personal injury attorney? And it would say, well, here are the 500,000 opinions on that, rank ordered according to who you think is relevant, but go, basically do your own research. For them to start delivering answers, and they're still delivering answers kind of in that context, but the fact that the content is just showing up right then and there for you to have, it makes that the gold standard. And that becomes really, really dangerous. I heard somebody say, I think it was Naval Ravikant, who I really love. Naval said that when it comes to gauging the efficacy of scientifically generated content, you don't want to take the information from all of the scientists and average it. You want to find the one best scientist, and that's the person whose study you go off of. And I feel this. I feel that this. I mean, this is content science. Not to be too liberal with the word, because I know that it gets so heavily bastardized now. But in every one of these searches, somebody has gone through the painstaking effort of trying to help you identify the truth. And the truth is, I think, the most important thing in human existence. It's the reason that every deity from, human inception, like people used to worship the sun because the sun is light. Light is truth. Biblically, I'm the way, the truth, and the light. All those three things are the exact same things. Horus and Osiris were the sight, characterized by sight, because they could see, because that's truth. And here's Google telling us what's true. It's nuts. It's nuts if you really start to think about it. So I don't know why I went off on that weird philosophical tirade, y'all. I'm really sorry. I know you're here to learn about Google Ads, but I'm just feeling introspective today. So, use in-market audiences is the short version of a longer story, and potentially affinity audiences too. And the difference between those things really is, hey, this person likes this stuff generally speaking, and then this person is ready to buy. Affinity audience is like, oh yeah, Costum likes, underground hip-hop and basketball. But that doesn't mean that I'm in the market to buy basketball tickets right now. Unless I am, in which case I'm now in market. Please let me know if this was too much. If you're just like, dude, stay your lane. We don't care about your philosophy. Just tell us about Google Ads and shut up. I can't imagine most people made it this far into the video. At this point, it's been kind of rambly, but I'm going to post it anyway and see what happens. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I can see you tomorrow.